Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Roger Toll, PHA Board of Trustees Chair.
Welcome, everybody. It is such an honor to represent the Pulmonary Hypertension Association's Board of Trustees to welcome each of you to PHA's 13th International PH Conference and Scientific Sessions. The theme of this year's conference is Finding Your Hope. Like many of you, I know from personal experience what it means to find your hope every day as a member of this very special community. My daughter Jocelyn was diagnosed in 2002, and it was soon after that I became involved with PHA to serve on the board and have attended each conference since that date. I trust that each of you, as I do at the conclusion of every conference, will leave here on Sunday having found your own personal new or renewed hope. Some of you will find hope from seeing familiar faces from past conferences, PHA on the road, or PHA fundraising events. Others will find hope in learning of new treatments, advancements in PH care, or promising research. Parents of young children or teens with PH will find hope in our many sessions, especially for them. If this is your first conference, perhaps you will find hope in the power that comes with knowing you are not alone and that there truly is hope. As a father of a now adult daughter with PH, that was certainly my personal experience the first time I attended a conference, and Jocelyn is doing incredibly well in dealing with her PH. My hope is that each of you will leave this year's International PH Conference and Scientific Sessions with lasting memories and friendships with others who share your experience. I hope you'll be empowered with more knowledge about PH and having learned how people are living their best lives with this disease. And I hope those of you who are caring for people with PH, both at home and in clinic, will find strength, information, education, and support. I would like to introduce you to PHA's President and CEO, Brad Wong, to help me welcome you to this year's conference. Brad. During the past 2 years since our last conference, Brad has been leading a talented staff dedicated to improving the lives of those affected by PH and working closely with public stakeholders and the PH community to further PHA's mission. Ladies and gentlemen, Brad Wong.
Thank you, Roger, and welcome everyone, but especially welcome to the kids and teens with PH and their families. We're so delighted everyone is here. And wow, what a turnout, and what excitement and energy all of you have brought to Conference 2018. For those of you who are newly diagnosed or attending conference for the first time, I want to say welcome. And to let you know, we are so very glad that you found PHA and you are here with us today. For those, we hope that you will find the support and resources, information and friendships that you need, so that when you leave, you will feel a part of the community and no longer alone as you begin your journey. For those who have been part of the community for a little longer and have attended past conferences, I want to say welcome back, and that we have many things planned for you too, no matter where you are along your journey. It has been 2 years since we gathered in Dallas, and today, as a community, we have achieved a great deal. I've gotten to know many of you and have been inspired by your courage, your strength, passion, and commitment to helping others in the community. Together, we are advocating and raising awareness both in Washington, D.C. and in our local communities to make our voices heard and to educate members of Congress, state legislatures, and the public about PH and the support and access to care we need and deserve. Together, we are providing the support, education, information, and resources necessary to empower you during your journey so that you can find your new normal and keep control of your lives. Together, we are working to catalyze research to cure PH. We fund some of the best and brightest minds who are discovering new knowledge that will someday help improve your quality of life and find a cure. And together, we are promoting quality care through accredited PH centers, offering medical education that enables your healthcare providers to learn the latest about PH, and providing information you need to be active partners with your healthcare team. Thanks to you and your support, PHA is able to achieve all of this and more. Throughout conference, you will see slides that highlight some of the impact PHA and the community have had during the past year. Together, we are making a difference in providing hope. And all of this is captured in this year's conference theme, Finding Your Hope. This year's theme was the result of our PHA Conference Community Contest, and the winning theme came from Nicole Phillips of Maryland Heights, Missouri. Nicole's niece, Haley, was diagnosed with PH in 2015 at age 3. And inspired by Haley, Nicole has become a very active member of the PHA community. Please join me in congratulating both Nicole and Haley. As we experience everything that conference has to offer this year, I hope each of you will find your hope. I know after seeing all of you today, I have found mine, and my hope is a world without PH. Producing conference takes a community and the hard work of and support of many. I'd like to take a moment and have you join me in thanking these dedicated supporters and volunteers. Please join me in thanking, at the diamond level, Actelion Pharmaceuticals. At the platinum level, Bayer and Gilead Sciences. At the silver level, Accredo and United Therapeutics Corporation. At the bronze level, Liquidia Technologies. And our general sponsor, Arena Pharmaceuticals. And I want to give a special thank you to Bayer for sponsoring this opening session. There are many volunteers to thank for making this conference possible. In addition to our sponsors, a huge thanks to all conference presenters and speakers, planning committee members, and volunteers and staff. I would especially like to thank Jackie Woosley, Chair of the Orlando Welcoming Committee, and Marta Torres, Liaison for the International Leaders Summit. Your dedications and passions are greatly appreciated. And I'd be remiss if I didn't take a moment and acknowledge Reno Aldrighetti, who is with us today. I know many of you know Reno through the years. He truly built a wonderful organization during his 17 years at the helm, and I'm personally very privileged to pick up the mantle from him and keep the momentum going on behalf of the community. So Reno, thank you and welcome. And a final note of thanks to every one of you for being here today. You are what makes PHA and the PH community so special. But all of these efforts were led by three especially hardworking people, volunteers. I'm speaking, of course, of our PHA Conference Planning Committee co-chairs, Rita Orth, Tracy Stewart, and Doug Taylor. Please join me in welcoming them to the stage.
On behalf of Rita and Tracy and myself, I would like to thank Roger and Brad. And I tell you, I just have to say, wow, if you could see what I see from up here, you would be impressed. I'd like for you to just take a moment and look around the room and just kind of absorb how many people are in this room here for Pulmonary Hypertension Association's International Conference. This is my 6th conference, and from my very first one, I can say each time I attended, I could find new hope and I'd learned something new. I'm very honored to be co-chair of the Conference Planning Committee, and I'd like to personally thank both Rita and Tracy for partnering with me as co-chairs. We also want to thank the entire Conference Planning Committee, which included an awards committee, breakout sessions committee, PHA scientific sessions, PHA research room, scholarships committee, and of course the welcoming committee. In all, there were more than 75 volunteers who are a mix of patients, caregivers, and medical professionals. And let's not forget the very hard work of the PHA staff. Additionally, hundreds of volunteers will be working all weekend to help make sure everything runs smoothly. You won't be able to miss them. They'll be wearing periwinkle t-shirts, and you've probably seen several of them already this morning. So please join me in thanking all of our volunteers and staff in creating what I feel will be our best conference ever. This year, we have more than 1,400 people joining us at conference. And of the 1,400, more than 600 are first-time attendees. Of the 600 first-time attendees, about 125 are first-time patients that are attending. If you're a first-time attendee, would you just wave to me so I could see who you are? Look at that. It's great to see you, great to have you here. We also have 45 states represented, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, and 31 countries. All people that have traveled far and wide to get here for this conference. The best way to stay updated on the latest news of conference and all that is happening is through our conference app. So I encourage you to take out your smartphones now, if you haven't already, and download the app by going to your app store and searching for PHA 2018. The app is an easy way to connect with other attendees and to share your experiences as you check out the latest information for the day and how to make the most of your weekend. If you post on social media, please use the hashtag PHA Conference so others can share in your conference experiences. You'll see our 2018 conference programming is guided by the feedback of the community after our 2016 conference. There is a little something for everyone this year. We've also built in tracks to help navigate the schedule for those who are newly diagnosed, those who are caregivers, parents of children with PH, those living with CTEPH, Spanish speakers, young adults with PH, long-term survivors, or I like to say long-term thrivers, and men with PH. Concurrently, we'll host our PHA scientific sessions and PH clinical sessions for medical professionals with information they need to provide optimal quality care. Guided by our commitment to empower our diverse community of patients and caregivers, you'll find sessions like helping your child adjust to life with PH and dating, school, and work with PH, a session called Living with PH as a Man, and an overview of available therapies. There are many practical sessions for both individuals and families. Two particularly timely ones are preparing for a natural disaster and communicating and advocating in a PH emergency. Our new programming promotes quality care for adults, kids, teens, and young adults and their parents and loved ones. This year's conference recognizes the needs of our entire community, including those of us who have lost loved ones to the disease. For those of you who are looking to find your hope with ways to fight this disease through volunteering, advocating, and raising funds, check out the session later this afternoon, Finding Your Hope, a whole series of sessions on finding your hope. Throughout the weekend, if you have any questions, find a PHA staff member in a blue vest, you've seen the blue vests, or a volunteer in the periwinkle t-shirts I mentioned. And also, don't forget to stop by the exhibit hall to visit our exhibitors and PHA's Resource Center. The exhibit hall, located in the atrium right in the center of the lobby, will be open today until 6:45 and throughout the weekend. You can't miss it. While you're in the exhibit hall, don't forget to pick up your free conference t-shirt at PHA's Resource Center. A t-shirt voucher should be attached to your name tag. One of the things I love most about conference is being able to connect with each of you. We intentionally built more time into the schedule to allow for networking and for rest. It is such a unique opportunity to bring the whole community together in one place, from those of us living with PH and the family and friends who support us, to the medical professionals who partner with us. We are here, and over the next 3 days, look forward to learning, growing, and connecting, and to finding our hope together. This year's opening session speakers will share the challenges they face living with this disease and how they are finding their hope to live their best life. Our first speaker today is Dr. Nazera Wright. Nazera is an associate professor of English at the University of Kentucky, where she teaches courses in African American literature. Her book, Black Girlhood in the 19th Century, won the 2018 Children's Literature Association's Honor Book Award. Dr. Wright was diagnosed with idiopathic pulmonary arterial hypertension in July 2016 and is an active member of the PHA community and regularly attends PHA support group meetings. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Wright.
Finding hope in your network. I would like to thank the Pulmonary Hypertension Association for inviting me to speak with you today. My name is Dr. Nazera Wright. I was raised in Washington, D.C. in a large, loving family. I am one of 7 children. To escape the bustling energy of our household, I often found quiet calm in the wonderful world of books. I especially enjoyed reading coming-of-age novels. These were stories about Black girls who overcame hardships when they were young by relying on their communities to grow into confident women. I admired how these young Black girls sought help from an extensive network of family, community members, and friends on their journey toward womanhood. It was only natural that I would later teach and write about coming-of-age novels for my career. I am an associate professor of English at the University of Kentucky. In 2016, I published a book titled Black Girlhood in the 19th Century. The book tells a literary history of Black girlhood from the 1820s to the early 20th century. In 2016, after an incredible amount of research, publications, and hard work, I earned tenure. But in 2015, as I was completing my book, I would feel dizzy and short of breath as I walked the short distance from my car to the building where I taught. I went to several doctors in Kentucky who told me I had asthma or allergies. Finally, a pulmonologist tested my oxygen levels, and I was at 74% oxygen. My mother urged me to fly home to D.C. to see a cardiologist, but how could I leave in the middle of a semester where I was responsible for teaching 2 classes? I finally listened to my mother and flew home in April 2016. I expected to return to Kentucky after my appointment, but I would not return. A right heart catheterization confirmed I had pulmonary arterial hypertension. Over the next year, I underwent many medical procedures to determine I had group 1 idiopathic pulmonary arterial hypertension. I met with Dr. Christopher Barnett, my PH specialist, every month for an entire year. It was difficult to have the lifestyle I had known stop abruptly. I should have been celebrating my new book, going on book tours, and having book readings, but instead, I had a VQ scan of my lungs, multiple echocardiograms, and a second right heart catheterization. But I decided to take intentional steps to learn how to manage my condition. I took a medical leave from the university. I took 3 forms of medication, Letairis, Adcirca, and Tyvaso. I was on 8 liters of oxygen, and I carried around a heavy oxygen tank. I went to pulmonary rehabilitation 3 times a week. I navigated the tangled web of sodium intake and water retention, but most important, I paid close attention to my symptoms. Was I dehydrated? Was the barometric pressure too high to go outside? During that year, I thought carefully about what really mattered to me. I learned to prioritize my health rather than my career. I began to walk each day around an outdoor track with my mother. At first, I could only walk around the track once. Then it was twice. Soon, I was able to walk around the track multiple times. I walked around the track with my brother, Kareem. I walked around the track with my twin sister, Jamila. Soon, walking around the track became a family affair. I walked around the track with my father, sisters, nieces. Even my close friends from college, who had families of their own, took time away from their busy schedules to visit me and walk with me. One friend walked with me in the mornings before she went to work, and another friend traveled from Richmond, Virginia, to Washington, D.C. to walk with me during the weekends. Soon, my oxygen intake decreased from 8 liters to 2 liters. Also, I lost 50 pounds. Yet, my mother and I wanted to learn even more about pulmonary hypertension. We discovered that the Pulmonary Hypertension Association offices were located in Silver Spring, Maryland, which was only 20 minutes from our home. Therefore, on a warm afternoon in July 2016, we visited the PHA offices. We met with PHA staff, including the Director of Patient and Caregiver Services, who patiently took time to answer our many questions. He offered concrete advice on ways to cope with a new diagnosis. I appreciated his warm communication style, and I admired his holistic approach to managing my illness. After weeks of lengthy clinical visits and invasive procedures, it was a welcome reprieve to speak to someone who cared about the human component of pulmonary hypertension. He told us it was all right and even beneficial to seek a second opinion. He encouraged us to attend support group meetings. He discussed the importance of caretakers. And most important, he emphasized that the emotions that my family members might be experiencing could be quite different from the feelings that I, the patient, was experiencing. The conversation in the PHA offices was a turning point in my recovery. I began to consider not only my own well-being, but also the well-being of my mother and father with whom I was now living. We began to attend support group meetings regularly. I enjoyed these meetings because I met patients, caregivers, and healthcare professionals of all ages and walks of life. I met newly diagnosed people and those living with PH for years. I listened to patients and caregivers share their experiences, and I shared my own. With every meeting I attended, I learned more about my PH. My family's participation in meetings showed me that they were just as invested in my health as I was. I eventually told more friends about my PH. It was important to me that I cultivated a wide network of people who understood the potential issues that could arise, such as dehydration, low potassium, or difficulty breathing. Having a network of support meant that I did not have to constantly explain my condition. Just like the Black girls who cultivated networks of family and community members to guide them into successful adulthood in the coming-of-age novels I read when I was a girl, and which I now teach and write about as an English professor, I, too, cultivated and found hope in a deep network of family and friends. My network learned about my condition so they could offer the best support when I needed it. The most important piece of advice I could pass on to you today is to build and cultivate your network. This network may be family and friends. This network may be members of a support group, your nurse navigator, or fellow patients in pulmonary rehab. Cultivating your network means exchanging phone numbers and initiating conversations. These networks and relationships are valuable, sustaining, and life-affirming. A year after I was diagnosed, I eased my way back into my work. I started by giving small book readings in the homes of family and friends. I learned to pace myself as I read and signed books. Soon, I began giving readings to larger audiences in coffee houses and bookstores in Washington, D.C. My family attended these local readings in Washington and supported me. Then I began to travel with my mother to present my research. I was invited to give book readings at national conferences. I also presented my research at several universities such as Vanderbilt and Duke. This year, I won 2 national fellowships to complete research and write my second book. I am currently in residence at a research library called the Library Company of Philadelphia as a National Endowment for the Humanities Fellow and a Fellow of the Andrew Mellon Program in African American History. But the highlight of this year came when my book, Black Girlhood in the 19th Century, won the 2018 Children's Literature Association Honor Book Award. The award ceremony is actually this weekend in San Antonio, Texas. However, when I received the invitation to give the keynote address at this year's PHA conference, I gladly accepted. I wanted my message of determination, hope, and the power of networks to reach a wider audience. I credit my success in managing my PH to my family, and especially to my parents, Francine and Stephen Wright, who are here with me today and to whom I dedicate this talk. They had a significant impact on my health and well-being these past 2 years. It is because of their deep devotion, encouragement, and support that I am here with you today. And it is because of them that I will be here tomorrow and the next day and for many years to come. Thank you.
Let's give her another round of applause. Our next speaker is a celebrity in the boxing world, but more than that, he is committed to using his unique platform to share his story, build awareness about PH, and support PHA. Elvis Medrano is a big personality whose story captivated PHA late last year, and I'm certain he will captivate you too.
Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis Medrano.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I live to fight. I also fight to live. One of my many nicknames is El Inmortal, or in English, the Immortal. In May 2012, at the age of 22, after fighting in the ring nearly half of my life, I began to notice some unusual changes in my performance. My boxing coach and I wondered why all of a sudden I was no longer the highly energetic punching machine everyone knew me to be. I slowly noticed that I became more short of breath during training and sparring, and my performance went from excellent to shameful to just plain embarrassing. Soon I found myself breathing heavily, just walking and doing the normal, everyday things. And after a few months, I also began to experience some inconsistent pain and swelling in my right arm. Eventually, after many doctor visits, I decided to have that looked at naturally, and I ended up going to quite a few doctors because they would just look at me and say there was nothing wrong. For some reason, the arm would look perfectly normal every time I went to the doctor's office. So the next time the arm swelling took place, I took pictures to show him I'm not crazy. I know what I was saying. Eventually, after quite a few doctor visits, I was able to find one who has seen patients with similar symptoms, and when he saw the pictures, he knew right away what the problem was. The diagnosis was thoracic outlet syndrome. This happens when one of the major veins that passes through the arm gets compressed between the first rib and the clavicle. The treatment to correct that problem was to remove my first rib. Eventually, I had the rib removed. But little did I know that during the many months that I spent trying to find a doctor who knew how to treat the arm problem, it turned out that I had a bunch of blood clots forming in the site where the vein was compressed in my right shoulder. Unfortunately, a lot of those blood clots ended up in my lungs, resulting in pulmonary emboli. Again, I was going back and forth to doctor after doctor, hoping to find an answer for why I was still so short of breath. And I ended up getting quite a few misdiagnoses. Some would tell me maybe I had been born like this, since my mom had a small history of asthma when she was a little girl. Some even said maybe I had tuberculosis because I was born in the Dominican Republic, and this is something common in those areas. But that was never the case because every test came back negative. And some even had the audacity to tell me that maybe I had some type of psychological disorder causing me to think that I was short of breath. Let's think about that one for a second. Me being an athlete in top shape, either you're tired or you're not. You don't think you're tired. It's not like you wake up one morning and say, I think I'm going to be tired today, so I'm not going to go to work. I'm just going to stay here just to make sure. So that obviously didn't believe that, so I continued my search, and after going over 45 doctors, I finally found one who was at least able to point me in the right direction. Thankfully, I finally found the doctor. He wanted to send me to Inova, Fairfax Hospital. I would later learn that Inova is one of the very first centers to receive PHA's prestigious pulmonary hypertension care center accreditation. And I am a living testimonial that the accreditation is well deserved. That's where I met Dr. Nathan and Dr. Slovin, two outstanding PH specialists. Luckily for me, they listened very carefully to everything that I explained to them about my shoulder injury. And there was one person who had a very significant impact in my life, in my career, during my journey during this thing, which is why I made it my goal to remember all of the names of nurses and doctors who I feel have helped me the most to get to where I'm at right now. Some of them may be here today, Dr. Slovin, Dr. Nathan, and Dr. Forfia, and my personal hero, Denise Lewis. I will explain why in a moment. Well, the PH doctors, thank you. Well, the PH doctors get a lot of credit, and don't get me wrong, it's credit that they deserve. The true heroes in the PH team are the nurses. Denise would look at me as I ran my mouth, and she would just listen, and she would tell me, Elvis, we cannot make you do anything, but you have to understand there's consequences for everything you don't do that you're supposed to do. And one of those consequences is that you could potentially die. Her words were haunting me every time I didn't take my PH meds and then found myself struggling to breathe. Eventually, I made the appointment at Temple to be evaluated for the PTE surgery. There's where I met Dr. Nathan and Dr. Slovin. Dr. Forfia, and was evaluated for the PTE. And after the surgery, that was a tremendous help for me to remove some of these clots that I had. Sorry, I lost my breath there for a second. So the procedure with the PTE was obviously extremely helpful. As you can see there, that's me. Look like a sad puppy there for a second. Yes, I was very reluctant to have the surgery. Obviously, that scared the hell out of me, being in a situation like that where they have to cut my chest in half to open this, to get to the clots. But I must confess, as much as I knew better, I'm very glad I listened to them and went through with the surgery. Still, recovery was harder than I could ever imagine. And while I had a few setbacks, some because of my own stubbornness, let's see here. There's my hero right there. Ms. Denise. I almost forgot to go through that slide. Sorry about that. Anyways, meanwhile, still the recovery process was extremely long and harder than I could ever imagine. But I made it through. Thankfully, with a lot of the right care, right test, I was able to get myself back on track and back to training. And again, I must confess, as much as I knew better, I'm very glad I went through with the surgery. Still, the recovery was terrible for me. Taking long. Being a young guy, I want to be able to fight and do the things that I want to do. And some days I felt like I was the only one who was dealing with this rare condition of the lungs. And some days I would wake up and feel like a dead man. It would be impossible for me to be able to fight professionally again. Fortunately, El Inmortal in me would not let me accept defeat. I kept working hard, letting the healthcare team do their job and going through with the medications that they gave me. And I decided to take advantage of all of the medical advances available to me. Aside from the PTE surgery, my healthcare team put me on 3 PH medications: Adempis, Tabeso, and Opsumit. And in combination, they have helped me a lot. As a result, I am now back to training 6 days a week, and I continue to get stronger every day. Last fall, Denise put me in touch with the Pulmonary Hypertension Association. She knew that they had just started a new blog called The Right Heart, and she thought my story would be a good one for it. That introduction has been one of the best things that has come out of me having this disease. Not only did the PHA post my story in the blog, they also did a story about me and made me a celebrity champion to raise awareness of this disease. I also get to do things like this, speaking here at a conference to encourage others, to help you realize that even with this disease, you can live your very best life. It's just a matter of making up your mind that say to yourself, I will knock out this condition, and you will do that. It may be difficult, but it is possible. As we continue to learn more, like we all saw with all of these new advances in the medical field. But aside from keeping a positive mindset, please work with your healthcare team to learn how you can be as physically active as you possibly can. Okay. As for me, although it may take a whole village from Fairfax, Virginia, all the way to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to treat my CTEPH, El Inmortal will remain determined and persevere forever. Thank you for the honor to speak to you, and thank you for listening to me. I hope each and one of your experiences can help. This is your time in Orlando.
Thank you so much, Elvis. And what an amazing start to our quest during this conference to finding your hope. I think he and Dr. Wright also, both kind of exemplified our topic of finding your hope this year. Elvis will be right outside the room when we leave for pictures and autographs. Be sure to stop by and say hello to him. After this inspiring presentation, a lot of you are looking like you've already found your hope. But hold on, because we've got 3 more days to go. There's a lot more to look forward to. So as you go through the weekend, your feedback is very important to us. It's how we start to plan for the next conference in 2020. So please pick up a conference evaluation form at the PHA Resource Center in the exhibit hall. Fill them out as you attend the sessions throughout the weekend. They can be turned in to the PHA Resource Center or at the brunch on Sunday morning. Or you can wait and complete the survey online, and it will be emailed out to you on Sunday. We hope you enjoyed kicking off your conference with the first group of sessions, and we'll see you back here at 7 o'clock this evening for the medical update dinner, where we will find our hope through medical breakthroughs identified through precision medicine. Thank you.